How's the hair and my makeup? Looking okay. Gonna have to fire the lighting people though. And this makeup girl, I'm not too sure about her. I only keep her around because she's so damn good looking. Oh, but anyways, I have to be honest, this is my second attempt at making this video, and I made like a whole video, but the level of incoherency, and I couldn't understand it. So I lived it. I couldn't understand it. And then the capper was I mentioned the name to the 25 or 26-year-old woman that comes to my house, and I'm like, I'm just gonna have to edit that out, you know. Anyways, but this will be about my first real experience in a wheelchair, which was Thursday. Now, um, my idea was to stay off of the painful leg so I could go fishing on Friday because I haven't been fishing in over 2 years, and I am a fisherman. It is sort of vital part of my personality. As I've said before, my first memory involves fishing. I grew up fishing. I am a fisherman. The difference between a fisherman and someone who's fishes is a fisherman is a fisherman is a fisherman. Somebody can go fishing, have a good time, put the fishing rod down, and they're fine. But I'm not like that. That's just always what I've done ever since I can remember. I've been fishing. I don't get to do that anymore, but I don't get to do a lot of things anymore. But anyways, the title of this is I decided my first wheelchair experience because today is a Saturday. I was supposed to go fishing on Friday. Thursday, I had my psychiatric appointment where I decided to use the wheelchair and not the walker because I figured, like, if I save my legs, then I'll get to go fishing on Friday. And I was like, so I'm going to use the wheelchair. And I've taken no medications this morning. Whatever incoherency you hear is all natural and due to pain. But here's how it went. So, Scenic View Transportation does not know that I'm going to use a wheelchair. They have special vehicles with the ramp in the back, or I think some even with a lift. But I didn't get one of those guys. So he pulls up. I roll out there in the wheelchair. My neighbor Roy, who's been in a wheelchair for 17 years, had an extra wheelchair in the hallway. He had it all set up for me. He gave me like pointers and tips before I went, like a coach, and go out there and get him, son, give him hell. You know, patted me on the back, so to speak. And then away I went. So the guy's looking at me in the wheelchair, you know, and he's like, and I held up the cane and let him know, you know, that was the only sign of intelligence he showed during that entire trip. However, as I held up the cane and he put up two and two together, he put two and two together that, you know, I could get out of the wheelchair, get in the car, and then he could pack the wheelchair. He figured all that shit out. So I rolled down the ramp on my own for the first time, which is steering is a little tricky, but you know, gravity does all the work. And then rolled part way out there, and then the guy, he's like, "You're okay to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah." Get the cane, and you know, limp over to the car, get in there. He throws the wheelchair in the back, and we head downtown to rather not downtown, but to downtown Canton. Um, the road that we're on is like the main drag, okay, and the Coleman Professional Services building is used to be part of a complex of I think it's the only thing there now, but part of it was also my bank, which my bank likes to close down places a lot, so there's nothing there now. It's just empty, and all the ATMs are concrete blocks, and there's my bank's no longer there. But my dumb ass, when we pull up in front of the 50 feet from the door, is to say, well, we can just pull around off of the busy street, because it was about 1:20 in the afternoon, which is sort of rush lunch hour, rush traffic-ish. Plus, it's the main drag. And I said that way we don't have to piss anybody off, blocking up traffic. So I think I'm dealing with an intelligent, sensible, compassionate person. I had talked to him on the way there and told him this is my first time in a wheelchair. I'm kind of nervous about this, and et cetera, or whatever. So we go around the corner, like on this alleyway, and we're even closer to the door that I need to get into. And but unfortunately, this guy, there's like these like DHL trucks like lined up. They're loading something into some building that's in this. It's like a tiny little like side street, and this guy gets out, and I'm like, whoa, we almost hit that dude. He goes, yeah, he wasn't being very careful, and I kind of assumed that he would stop there, but instead of saying, we can just stop right here and just hustle that out, that guy popped out, because he's part of the universe's evil plan to make my life as fun as possible. And so we almost hit him, and he wasn't watching what he was doing, so we almost took his ass off as he was popping out of the passenger side of this vehicle. And anyways, so this genius, that's my driver, he drives me around completely to the back of the building. He doesn't even like drive me. He could have drove me up through the defunct ATM runs, like alleyways or whatever you want to call them, and got me close to the door that way. But no, he wants me to have the whole first timer's wheelchair experience. So he drops me off as far from, literally as far from the door as possible. I'm talking at least a football field. I don't know, I obviously didn't know the distance. I didn't know what I was in for, so I'm just like, whatever. I didn't say like, well, we could have done this, or we could have done this, or we could have done that. I just thought I was riding with an intelligent human being with empathy and compassion, and I had told him I had a bad rotator cuff in my arm, and that was my first time in a wheelchair, but he wanted to make an interesting experience for me. So yeah, it was. I found out that when you're in a wheelchair, every crack, every seam, every broken piece of concrete is an enemy that you have to push extra hard to get over. I found out also that you're responsible for every ounce of your 180 pounds. I don't know what I weigh. If I weigh 180 pounds, usually weigh somewhere between 175 and 185. So I'm usually, depending upon how my appetite is. But so I'm rolling around, and then I'm learning as I go. I'm like, well, here's some curbs here. And I actually rolled up the ATM ramp first, and I found out right away, like, there's a slight incline here that I had no idea existed. And it's like, even a slight incline in a wheelchair, if you stop rolling, she's my other hand, but I'm covering myself up. If you stop rolling, you start going backwards. So you got kind of like double time it, even up this incline that you can't even, it's not even as much. I didn't even know it was an incline until I started rolling backwards. So I'm like, okay, well, this is, yeah, this is getting my heart rate up a little bit. So I got over the incline. I got back onto level ground. Level ground's all broken, and then there's curbs I got to go around. And I'm like, man, I don't know how long it took me to get to the front door. But like I said, you're responsible for every ounce of whatever weight it is you're pushing. Any incline at all, you got to work extra hard to get up and over. And you got to keep going. You can't. There's no push, pause, push, pause. You gotta keep rolling and rolling. And so I'm rolling over more cracks and seams and stuff, and then I'm looking outside to see if any person did the 2 puff ritual and threw a cigarette down, because I know how bad I'm going to want a cigarette when I get out of there. And I get to the door, and before I go to open the door, I look at my hands, and another thing I didn't realize about wheelchairs outside, because I had been in wheelchairs before, but always indoors, and always never, a lot of times with people pushing me, never was like outside actually responsible, outside by myself in a wheelchair. So I'm looking at my hands. My hands are all filthy from road dirt and sooty looking, and so I got gum in my mouth. I just start spitting in my hands like them guys that are ready to do some real work or whatever. They show that stuff on TV, and I'm started rubbing them on my black pants until they look relatively clean, which was really nasty thing to do considering touching a door handle. But as far as I know, I don't have a cold or anything. But I was not prepared for that either, and I had trouble getting the front door open to get in, and I was like, well, I can get out of the wheelchair. That's going to be hard because the door don't stay open. I think I can walk in there and they have a button that you hit that'll prop the door open, and then I can get back in the wheelchair and roll through, and then hit the button again that keeps the door open. But it's one of them doors that's like really like hard to open. It's like got that powerful spring action to it. So anyway, somebody came along that come down and they held it for me, and I said thank you, and they said, you think you can do the elevator? And I'm like, I think so. The elevator was a little tricky. It was kind of small, so I had to like work around and move around and stuff. And I'm like, God, this is not fun. Go up to my floor. I was able to get in that door okay, the door to the office. I went and I saw a psychiatrist guy, and he's like, what's going on? And it's like, I said, it's been a long time since I've been in here, right? And he said, a real long time, because I had to cancel a couple of appointments. Once because I didn't get on the transportation line quick enough, and another time just because my leg, I was like, I don't want to deal with it. I had other things going on. So I don't know how, it was at least 4 or 5 months since I had seen the guy. A lot has happened in 4 or 5 months, and I explained to him about the bureaucratic nightmares that I've been getting into, the fax wars, where, one place only accepts faxes, but the other place don't want to send fax. And how much trouble I'm having getting scheduled for my knee surgery, and now I'm having more and more problems with the mobility scooter thing. And I told him about the procedure. He didn't even know about the blood clot in my knee or any of that stuff. So he was like, Jesus Christ, dude. Because he's a pretty profane guy. And I said, another thing is like, I called the refill line because he wanted to talk about medications, because that's really all we're supposed to be talking about is medications. That's, we're scheduled for a 20-minute visit where we discuss my medication situation. That's all. But me being me, that's not all. So he's like, well, I said, I'm going to do something that's usually stupid when dealing with medical people. I'm going to be completely honest with you because I like you. He said, he laughed, and I said, I called your refill line and they didn't call me back. So when you first prescribed Valium to me, you gave me a bottle that was good until June, and it was for 120, and I got that refilled instead. So that's 30 more than what the 90, 3 pills 3 times a day that I'm supposed to be getting a month. So um, I was like, "Do you have any record just to see?" I said, "You have record of that?" And he goes, "No," because I think he would have mentioned it by then if he did have record of it. And then he spun the computer around and showed me, and he said, "Here's all I got." And I looked at it, and I was like, "Son of a gun!" For some reason, the guy's not getting records of his own prescriptions. He's not lying to me. And after hearing what's been going on with me, he's like, "Well, what do you need?" And I think he would have wrote me anything at that point. And what can I do for you? And I was like, "Well, I just stick to the same thing, I guess. I just stick to volume, same dose." So it set me up for 3 more months of 3 volume a day, and at 10 milligrams. And I'm like, I'm not quitting until I can get something figured out, because nothing's going right, and I am under a lot of pressure, was my exact words to him. And I was like, I'm getting nothing done with this knee, and I'm in so much pain that my first video was like incoherent, and I actually slipped up and told my 25, 26-year-old like therapist, who's no longer going to be a therapist's name in it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So now, done with the appointment, the guy said, "Well, we'll set it up for 3 months, but if you need me, you can call me sooner than that. We'll try to get you in here sooner." I'm like, "Well, that makes sense." And so now it's time for me to wheel myself out of there. And they got somebody there, and there's like, "We can get somebody to wheel you out of here." And after my experience wheeling in there, I was like, "Sure." Like, yeah, uh, I'm already like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm already like whipped. And when the person that they had, she's like, "I used to wheel my mom around all the time when she was alive," and she was like, I don't know, 40-ish, who knows, but she was actually huffing and puffing and winding. And I'm like, "You're getting kind of short-winded back there." And she said, "Well, you ain't light, son." I'm like, okay. Um, but man, she just glared daggers at the driver for parking where he parked, and I'm like, "There's my guy over there." And I'm like, well, she's like, "Why is he parked over there?" And I said, "I don't know. You'd have to ask him." She didn't ask him nothing, man. She just glared daggers at him, because she obviously knew people in wheelchairs before. Like, why would you do that? And then to make it even more fun, on the way home, I'm like, "Yeah, the medical community," and I was talking about some of the stuff with my knee. I was like, "I don't know how your life's been, but my best advice is to stay the hell away from the medical community." And he's like, "Well, it's kind of late for that." And he said, "I have a disease that's in the muscular dystrophy family. It doesn't affect coordination, but it affects strength." And I'm like, "Seriously, you have a disease? I told you it's my first time in a wheelchair, and you park me as far away as possible from the doors that I need to get into. Literally as far away as he possibly could." This is what's running through my head, and I realize that saying these things, they're not good. It's just going to lead me to anger, and I need scenic view transportation, and he's the first asshole that I met that was driving for them. So, and I got the temper thing to worry about too. So that's my first wheelchair experience. So that part of it's over. I get home, and I'm just like, son of a bitch, I throw my shirt off, and um, the next day, can't go fishing. Feel terrible. my rotator cuff arm, which is also my casting arm, hurts worse than it did before the wheelchair experience, and my stomach was messed up to boot, and my leg hurt. I just like I don't feel like nothing. I feel like being unconscious, and that's one of my few friends. He called me from the church. He's playing something called pickleball. I didn't know this, but pickleball and tennis people are at war because they use the same courts. You know. Now I heard a funny story that I'll tell you next time about a very. Oh, here's what it was. He just like found a note on the court that said that we've noticed that you don't have any black people playing in your on your pickleball teams, and it's like some kind of. I'm like, what is that? But he's like, yeah. He's like, the, there's like also a popularity thing because I guess pickleball is like it uses like a tennis court situation, but it's competing now with tennis in popularity. But that was just weird, They left that note that said that we've noticed. Do you ever uh, ominous? We've noticed that you don't have any black people playing on your pickleball teams. Just like a vaguely threatening note just left on the court, attached to the net. So I didn't even know what pickleball was before this guy started talking about it. But another thing about it is like older people can play it too, and it's I don't you'd have to look it up on the internet if you're even that curious. But I think like with tennis, you got a racqueting ball, and with this, it's more like a badminton. Like it's a slower game with more strategy and stuff. So older people can play it as well. But anyways, as far as like what that has taught me, because today is Saturday, wheelchair day was Thursday. The missed fishing trip that I was looking forward to is Friday, and today is Saturday. Is I am very I'm dealing with some depression, and part of it is like I'm realizing that you know that I'm gonna have to start paying for like cabs or Ubers or something just to go like 6 to 10 blocks to get a prescription. That's like it might as well be on the moon to me at this point. And it's like getting. I even thought about digging out my electric bike again, and I'm like, no, don't be stupid. Getting you can get on the bike okay, but getting off of the bike is the problem. And like a funny thought went through my head because it has like baskets set up on the side because I used to do my grocery shopping on it. I was like, well, I could roll up a body pillow and put it in one of them baskets and just throw it on the concrete. And then, if I fall, just aim for that body pillow. But then the bike would probably fall on top of me anyway and, bust something. Get a perforated testicle from the handlebar or something. Who the hell knows? So I was like, nah, I can't do that. Um, I suppose if you want to hear me continue to spit out pieces of my broken luck, it's like I got a call from the doctor on Friday. Also, did not put me in a good mood. It's like I had called 8 or 9 days before that and spoken to Leah, who assured me that she would fax in the number to Mercy Hospital to set up the appointment that I need to get the mobility scooter that I need so I can get my prescription, so I can get my groceries, so I can take care of myself, so I cannot be dependent upon people that frankly cost me a lot of money and just are, users and takers. And, friends, but the kind of friends that are like they like the give and take relationship if they can be the takers. They love that fucking thing. But anyways, so I get this call on Friday, and it's like it's 8 or 9 days after Leah assured me that she would fax in the number, and then I talked to the hospital, and they said that we give callbacks and to set up the appointment like an hour later. So this is 8 or 9 days later, and I haven't heard from Mercy Hospital. Now, this may turn out to be a good thing, but I'm like, I'm not calling them back until Monday, man. I'm not dealing with this. She's like, we close at 11:30 today, though. So you can just give us a call on Monday. The doctor has a question about your chair, about your wheelchair. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. But the original person, I think I've said this before, but the original person I dealt with the Miller's company, they handed my case off to somebody named Megan, who's young, energetic, and perky. And I'm allowed to say her name because none of those are insults. So, but she said she's going to send me a packet in the mail that I'm actually was on the lookout for yesterday, and was on the lookout, going to be on the lookout for today. And it's going to have all my information. But the main takeaway here is, she said there's a way that you can skip the physical therapy appointment and just get it directly from your doctor. And that got my attention because the doctor knows the situation. I told him, like, I'm dependent on people that I don't want to be dependent on, that are either using substances or have emotional problems, or both. I want to be able to use it to eat groceries. And he's like, yeah, I'll sign up off. I know exactly what you want. I'm signing off on it. So if I go directly through my doctor, there's not the worry of getting the electric wheelchair thing, which I will be threatened with if I go through the route of going to a physical therapist and having them evaluate me and be like, well, you don't really need your electric scooter. You need an electric wheelchair that you can't carry any groceries on. So you can buy a dozen eggs with one trip and then recharge it and then go get your loaf of bread. What am I going to carry on an electric wheelchair? And I suppose they could put some kind of basket on the back of it, but like I said, especially after my first wheelchair experience on Thursday, the whole idea of inclines, and I'm talking about a hill about like that, not doing it. I ain't doing that. If that, not happening. So if I got an electric wheelchair, I wouldn't use it for that. I would probably sell it to the guy next door, actually. Because it would work. Wouldn't sell him the scooter that I already gave him because it didn't work. So, but I would sell him an electric wheelchair that worked. Then maybe he could truck around a little bit. But no, I never. If I have to bankrupt myself buying what I need, what can I do? My voice has been terrible lately. I don't know what my problem is there. I haven't really been doing that much talking. But yeah, just a depressing type of a morning for me because I didn't get to go fishing, and in a lot of pain, and like I'm evaluating my relationships, and this book, just happened to be reading this book that is describing me a little bit it's hitting a little bit too close to home about the fact that I have sort of a masochistic personality. I had a guy tell me when I was in the Cleveland Clinic Pain Management Union that he just referred to me as incredibly self-destructive. And that's what masochism is in the end, is self-destruction, or submerging yourself, or giving yourself up to the whims of another if you happen to be in a sadomasochistic type relationship. And I'm not talking about whips and chains, I'm talking about psychologically. if you have to be in that kind of relationship where you're just a submissive type of person. And it's like my form of submission is like, you probably know this from already from my videos, is I'm not the type of person that's pushed easily, but my form of submission is like, here, you can have this, or like, here's $200 for cleaning up my house. Just like that's my form of like being a masochistic person. Also being like forgiving with all these people that are like dealing me dirt, like the boat guy. Just like, like just being that forgiving, and it is in a sense of being masochistic, because you know that they're not young, you know that you're getting treated that way like over and over again, but you keep forgiving them. You know the outcome of these relationships, but you're holding on to these relationships. And what part of it is like, known these people my whole lives, or our whole lives, we've known each other. And another part of it is I don't have a whole lot of people. Um, Part of the reasons why I do these videos, and they are so long, is they are a form of bootstrapping, like, like trying to perform some sort of emotional alchemy, and instead of turning lead into gold, I'm trying to turn sadness, despair, and desperation into humor, hope, the will to go on, that sort of thing. So it's part of the reasons why I do these, and it's also part of the reasons why I will go back and I will watch them, is I will talk. I'm giving myself a pep talk. I'm saying, yeah, things are bad and things are screwed up, but they're also kind of funny in a way. And it's kind of funny how much the universe hates you, and your luck is just so invariably poor that also in itself is sort of funny. And to try to have a sense of humor about frankly what is a horrible life, and it doesn't seem to be at the moment getting any better, but I'm trying to hang in there, and at least until I get my knee cut, and then we'll see what happens, but I'm having trouble finding somebody. See, in order to get an operation, you have to have somebody willing to cut you first. And I can't find anybody willing to cut me. And that's the first step. But the second step is to get everything all lined up for the operation, which may, in my experience, take as much as 6 months to a year before you even get operated on. And this thing hurts like a motherfucker. I mean, it hurts right now when I'm just laying here. It hurts when I wake up. It hurts when I go to sleep. If I walk on it, heaven forbid I should kneel on it. So I don't know how much harder this can get, but I know things can always get harder. As I said in the last video, man, don't ever say, this can't get any worse, because don't ever even think along those lines. Sorry about that. So, yeah. Another weird thing that happened to me, and it's just another stupid. It's stupid. It's probably going to cost me money when it's not supposed to cost me money. Which is, this was a few nights ago. I started to tell you about this, but I didn't get a chance to for whatever reason. But this happened, I believe, on the 7th of the month. On the 7th of May, it is, I don't know, 18th, 19th, I don't know what the date is today. But on the 7th of May, I wake up at an odd hour, and my phone and my internet are out. And I'm trying to, first I'm just trying to use the computer to try to reconnect. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I grab my phone, and I look at my phone, and it's like, check telephone line. And it's the same router that goes to the phone and the internet. And I'm like, okay, it's a router thing. So I unplug the router and I wait, like they would tell me to do if I called tech. Plug it back in, nothing. and then push the red button, nothing. So it's like 1 a.m. And I was like, well, the quicker I jump on this, the better. I'm like, hey, this cell phone here, this is like a burner cell phone I got here. I don't have no, it doesn't count as anything. When I give that number to people, like as a secondary number, they're like, it's just a burner to me. It's. I don't have any contract, so it's not an official number. If you know what that entails, you might know more about it already, or I'm just gonna hope that you know the significance of that, because I'm not, I'm an old man from way back when we were doing the with the rotary phones. So, but I know like all the medical people I'm leaving that phone number to is on a phone that doesn't work. So I have to jump on this immediately in case they're trying to call me back tomorrow and can't do it. Like I have to. I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of irons in the fire. Okay, and I call at 1 a.m. and the guy's like, "Well, we're gonna check your remotely. You're gonna check your remoter routely. That's called a spoonerism. We're gonna check your router remotely." And he's like, "Well, your router just doesn't work." And I said, "So you're telling me I got a broken router?" And he's like, "Yeah, and I need a new one." And I'm like, "Do I need a service call?" And they're like, "No." And it's our equipment that's failing, so it's all free. It's like we're gonna send you one in the mail. We're gonna overnight it, and like I got it on the 8th. Okay, I got like you know I think I got it on the 8th. My timeline, my timeline may be a little foggy. Let's just say I got the thing damn quick, but it's still in the box because 2 hours after I made that call, the phone come back on, the internet came back on. I've had no trouble since. In order for me to unbox the new router and to plug it in, I got to get down on ground level, and I'm not kneeling. I'm going to be sitting on my butt when I do it. But I guess I he said I have 21 days to I can just take the broken router, which isn't broken, into the UPS store and with my account number, and they'll do the rest. It's just they'll box it for free, send it for free. They just include the account number with the supposedly broken router, which is what I'm using now to speak to you as a broken router, as far as AT&T knows. And so yeah, that was just a stupid thing that happened. But I figure like, well, I got a new router in a box. Like that could be a symptom that router is going bad. It would only make sense to hook up the new router and to do that. But that's just another trip that I can't go. And the UPS store is like only like 4 blocks away from the drugstore. That's right by my house too. And I used to ride my electric bicycle to the UPS store when I needed to mail a package. So again, um, probably Monday, Tuesday, or whatever. If I don't, I got like one relative that might give me a ride down there. I'm not, you know, I don't have anybody in the city close by that I'd want involved in my life. And I'm even getting a little too chummy with the guy with the wheelchair. I don't want to even, I don't want to really, I don't want friends. It's like friends are just a complication. It's like my luck with friends has not been good. And yeah, I want like a real friend. Anybody would, but I don't have those. I have like two people that I would consider like um, friends I would trust my emotions with, like, you know, that I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be hurtful to me. I got two people like that. I have other people that are nice to me and other people that are helpful to me, but I don't trust them, you know, To me, a friend is someone that you can trust, that you can like um, uh, say like, look, this is what's bothering me, and I mean, like you let them inside and know that they aren't gonna just like start kicking shit around in your guts. You know, that's a friend, like someone that you can develop that kind of trust with. And this guy texted me today and was like, be on the lookout for a package. We should have like a working. We're getting a little bit friendlier now, but I mean, we used to have like a working relationship as far as tenants, and he was a good tenant. Maybe that was a mistake of me to give him that uh, $700 broken scooter, but maybe that was a part of my masochistic tendencies. I don't know, but I did it because I thought it was a good thing to do, and it would make me feel good. And you know, I don't know. The guy, I guess, I don't know how he is with his money, but he told me he gets way more money than I do a month, so he could save up for one if he was really interested in one or whatever. But um, I don't know. Like, I'm not good at endings, so I'm gonna drink some water and just leave it at that. If I missed anything, I'm sure I'll pick it up the next time. Why my throat's been hurting so much, I don't know. Occasionally, occasionally I have mornings like this where um, it's like it's still different than the Xanax days, because the Xanax days you can see the difference in me if you want to go back and look at what I was like a year ago. Like April 28th video, somebody wrote a comment like, how are you doing now, from April 28th, when um, April 28th 18 2018. And I'm like, well, I'm a lot better now, but I still have mornings where I wake up and it's like like this, and I'm like the despair and the depression and then the emotional nonsense, and I mean, from my point of view, they're betrayals, but the other people don't get the chance to speak for themselves and give their point of views. But from my point of view, it's more like betrayals. It's like being used, and then like my usefulness, once I got to a certain point of debilitation, um, and once I stopped being an easy mark for money to be loaned out, it's like, you know, but they don't get to speak their side of the story, so I don't like to talk too bad. From my point of view, it's like, so I'm waking up and I'm thinking about like the relationships that I do have, and I'm like, I'm gonna need emotional support to get through this bullshit. I got to go through surgeries, and I still have to deal with the benzo thing, and I have I got all these problems, and like, and and I don't, I don't really have anybody except for the one guy, and he's like a grandfather many times over, and is a very busy man, and is uh heavy duty Christian dude, and he would just tell me to pray or something, or want to pray with me, or I mean, he would talk to me about my problems, but I just don't want. I don't want to really do that. It's like I've been through a lot of stuff. Let's put it this way. It's like I wouldn't want to do that to anybody. Where just to lay all of what I got to deal with on them, because I think that's what broke my relationship with my sister. Is I was like depending upon her too much, and she was like, just that's why she kicked me to the curb. She's like, man, it's just too much stuff. You know, it's like it's too much stuff from the outside, and even from the outside, it's just too much stuff. I just don't want to deal with it no more. So, you as a stranger, and let's face it, even my regular, I'm honest with people on here. I'm not bullshitting you. I have to leave stuff out. But, uh, I can't, I, it's a cyber relationship, It's like, I'm not really looking for friends. I like some of the people on here. And I like anybody that wants to talk on here. I'm happy to converse with them and stuff like that. But I ain't looking for, really not looking for friends. Friends is like a complication, and call it a fear of intimacy, call it whatever you want, call it guardedness because I'm on the internet. Which reminds me that I heard somebody on there they were just talking about some random. I don't know if it was about Roseanne or it's like, why would you be that honest about yourself on the internet and leave yourself open like that on the internet? And I suppose because I am not, I'm about as far from famous as you can get, that I could do this. But I'll tell you what, if I was famous, if anybody wants to come at me verbally, they can go, hey, come and get it. Even you're not gonna like it anyway, you know. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. It's like, why would you be honest and leave yourself open like that? It's like, and it's like, well, I do that all the time. It's like you're leaving your psyche bare for people to get in there and kick around and mess with you. And I'm like, I do that all the time. It's like every time I do that, that's what I'm doing. So that kind of struck me as interesting. Um, but yeah, I one thing the wheelchair thing did teach me is I need to get up and get moving around more. And I just got the depression today, so that makes it extra tough. And my leg hurts, so I mean, I don't know what my leg can take, but I know that, uh, yeah, the way I see this playing out is it's just going to be more hassle and more hassle and more hassle. And then come June or maybe even July, I could probably spring it in June or maybe even July. I'll just end up buying a motorized scooter myself to try to save my sanity. And, you know, and money in cab fare. But I don't know. The emotional support thing, that's a whole nother deal. That has me concerned. Um, and yeah, it's like getting over these hatreds that have fostered over years and years. It's like if they've taken years and years and I didn't hate anyone until I was 50 years old, I don't see how it's not going to take a long time for me to get over it. So, even taking into account people's bad childhoods and their histories and stuff. Because I got over hating my dad, but there's bad childhoods and then there's living fucking nightmarish, hellish, lifetime movie childhoods. Like my my dad's childhood would have to be on HBO. You couldn't make it onto Lifetime, anyways. But anyways, um, I want to just tell you about my first time in a wheelchair and throw in some extras about what's going on with me and see if see, a lot of times what I do on here is I referred to it once as emotional alchemy. So if I'm low, I try to turn the sadness and depression and the feelings of isolation, the lead, into hope, um, liveliness, appreciation, at least for my intellect, um, you know, gold. So I'm trying to turn lead into gold. I'm trying to do emotional alchemy on here and try to make myself feel better. And I'm trying to do a little bootstrapping, a little pep talk for myself. But to hang in there, and like at some point the universe has got to move on to somebody else to fuck with. It's got to be tiresome, just like kicking around the same dog over and over again. And I'll get my surgery, and then we'll see what happens after that. In the meantime, I really do think that I have to undergo tremendous amounts of pain, and just to keep walking. In the wheelchair lesson of Thursday, and I'm going to just like, if I have to use a walker, if I have to use a treadmill to keep these legs moving, keep them supporting my weight and not get any weaker. Because, wow, that wheelchair thing, I had no, you know, like I said, I had the pep talk and I had the explanations and the tips and stuff from the wheelchair guy, but until you actually do it and you're outdoors and you're rolling over broken concrete and up inclines and stuff like that, you really don't know what you're in for. But now I'll have to try to use that as motivational material. Think about that experience. And I haven't even eaten breakfast today. It's already noon. And I've been up since about 6 o'clock in the morning. I got that kind of a thing going on, depression-wise. But today, I make this promise to myself that it's either the treadmill or it's walking around in a circle with the walker, some form of ambulation, some form of me walking, however painful, however hideous looking, however difficult, will be done today. And I'm just gonna have to, I don't know, I'm just gonna have to like find some way to cope with the pain, or hope that the pain is not as bad. I hope that it's manageable. I seem to remember that before I got sick with epididymitis of all things, I had set up the treadmill, I had walked on the treadmill, and it was a freaking nightmare the first time I did it. And then the second time I did it, it wasn't quite as bad. But then I got sick, and then I never did it. Never jumped back on the treadmill again. I don't remember what month that was that I got sick. I think it was March. Yeah, it was March. And I never really jumped back on the treadmill again. Even though that one time I said I was going to set the treadmill up, I got distracted by other things and I never did it. But, now that I've had the wheelchair experience, yeah, I don't know which one I'm going to do, but I'm going to do one or the other. And I'm going to do it every day because I don't really have a choice. And as usual, longer, more drawn out than necessary. Oh hell, the makeup girl she can stay. She did okay, I guess. I can't see without my glasses, so maybe if I would have put my glasses before I started criticizing that lovely dark-haired maiden. And she also does my hair. She did an okay job on that too. So the lighting guy, though, he's getting fired. Just period. Fired. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.